Hi everyone, I hope everyone's having a great weekend. I am just putting together a little few tips on traveling through the airport with your special needs child. Although these are geared towards traveling with someone with special needs, a lot of the tips are great for anybody traveling, any child traveling. And it's just because it can be quite chaotic going through the airport. It can be very daunting. I just thought I'd put these together for everybody. So the first thing that we would do is look at where you're actually flying from. Don't always choose the nearest airport to you necessarily. Um, like, for example, Dublin is always very busy. It's a huge airport, so much going on, coming and going. People arrive hours before their flight to spend time in the airport or to ensure that they're getting through on time, especially if you're traveling from T1. It's always super busy, and sometimes, especially if you're going Ryanair, you have to travel that very long distance, and it can be very tough on somebody. Shannon and Cork are obviously smaller airports, and so they may not be as busy. You could always go down and stay the night if you didn't mind traveling the extra bit, or especially if you're located within the Midlands where you'd have the choice of airports, go with the smaller airport. Another thing to do is choose the flight times wisely. When you're looking at the airport, that could be kind of a deciding factor as well. So maybe a night flight would be better than a day flight. It wouldn't be as busy, or an early morning flight. If you have a child that still naps, I would always say choose a flight time that is going to be around your child's nap time, that they can nap on board and it's keeping them in their routine and things like that. Do always bear in mind flight times can change anything up till the day before departure, so they are never set in stone. Um, it's always a possibility, but can sometimes be rare. The same applies to the UK. So if you're looking to fly, if you would normally fly from Gatwick, say, or Heathrow, you could look at Luton. If you fly from Manchester, maybe Doncaster or even Newcastle, is a good option to fly from. Birmingham is another good option, although it's a very, very busy airport. It's very small, so it's easy to get around. Bristol is another good one if you're in the Midlands. It's a small airport and has some really good flight times. And sometimes flying from the smaller airports can be a lot cheaper as well. So you can always save, which could go towards paying for your seats, which will come up now. So as soon as you have your booking confirmed and you're ready to go, you've received your reference number from your tour operator, or your PNR or passenger locator number from your airline. Contact the airline straight away and book your special assistance. Special assistance is free of charge, so it's not going to cost you any extra to do this. And there is this particular code if somebody has, say, autism or something similar. It's called DPNA, and they can add that on if you've booked through a travel agent, which I would always recommend to do. They can do that for you, especially if it's a scheduled airlines, the likes of Aer Lingus or Delta or Virgin or any of those. They can actually add it onto their booking system. I would always request pre-boarding. I used to have a lot of clients ringing up and say, "Oh, my child is not great with queuing. Can we, occupy them and get on last? Is that going to be okay?" And I'd say, yes, of course it is. If you want to get on last, get on last. But it's not what I would advise. You get on last, you're getting onto chaos. So everyone's up and down and they're taking their bags on and off the overhead bins. Everyone's really loud and excited and talking over to each other, and especially if they're separated by a few rows, and it's just absolute chaos. The cabin crew is walking up and down, and it's very loud and very chaotic. Where if you request pre-boarding, you're getting on that few minutes extra before everybody else. And you can have your child or your adult settled. They're in their seats. They can have their headphones on. They can have their shows on, whatever they want to watch. there's some snacks out, or the games, the colouring, whatever it is that they need to do to have them settled, that hopefully they won't even notice the chaos that's about to ensue with everyone getting on board. The next thing then, I did refer to it a little bit, is to pay and pre-book your seats. Most airlines now do charge to pre-book your seats, or else they will allocate them for you at check-in. Pay for the seats. Just pay for them. As I said earlier, include it in the overall cost of your holiday. It is well worth it. You can choose a lot of low-cost airlines. You can choose your seats as you're booking, so you know exactly where you're going to sit. Some of the tour operators is so many days before travel. So be on there on that day. It is worth it. In fact, with TUI, for example, yes, you can only pre-book your seats normally a certain amount of days in advance. However, if you're ringing to book special assistance, they can allocate them prior to that for you. So if you pay for your seats, you ring up special assistance or customer welfare, as it is in TUI, and they will allocate those seats before anybody else, so you can choose those seats. I would always recommend sitting up nearer the front of the plane, which is where any of the special assistance seats for anyone with mobility issues and that usually are, is because you, again, just as you're getting on, you don't have that chaos of people traveling up and down the aisles while the plane is in flight. People getting in and out of the seats, they don't notice then, especially if you're on a longer flight where there's in-flight dining and kind of the in-flight services. You're not going to have the trolleys up and down and things like that. So you just have less to kind of distract and maybe cause a sensory overload. The next thing then that I would add on is, if your airport provides a sensory room, pre-book your time slot or contact them even before you make your booking and ask them about their sensory room, what it is that you need to do in order to reserve a time slot, what information do you need to have with you, and what is included in it. It's a great way to break up the time in the airport and just take a step back out of those bright lights and excitement that's going on within the airport. Order a sunflower lanyard. Go on to hiddendisabilitystore.com and order one of the sunflower lanyards. They are getting recognised more and more throughout the world, which is absolutely fantastic. A lot of international airports actually recognise them. I know Orlando does, if you're going to the States. A lot of the European airports do as well. If you go onto the website, it will show you exactly where has signed up to take it as their recognition. If you're flying out of Dublin, Cork or Shannon, they do all have their own individual airport special assistance lanyards as well. So the airport is a VIP traveller for Dublin Airport, should I say, and they notice it and they are on the ball with it. Dublin and Cork and Shannon, do have their own as well, and they have a few extra bits included. Like I think they have a baseball cap and a little bag as well. If you're flying with Virgin, actually Virgin have their own special assistance they get like a little pack. I know there's a little badge to be included, and I can't really remember now off the top of my head, but they have a little pack. So if you're flying with Virgin, contact those. They're great to have. They'll get you through security quickly. They'll get you down fast track queues, everything. So they are ideal to have. And make yourself known to anybody if you aren't getting through them. If you can, visit the airport prior to departure. Just get your child familiar with the surroundings, what to expect. You can walk up and you can see the check-in desks. You can walk through right up to the gate before you go into departures. You can maybe talk to a security person there and they can give you some advice as well on what to do and things to do. If you can't get to the airport, YouTube it. There's a YouTube video for everything, so you will find some sort of video about traveling through the airport that you want to go to. A lot of airports now as well do have social stories on their website. and they will be able to provide you with those, or you'll find a link that you can just download them, and you can go through them as well before you go. Your carry-on luggage is also something that needs to be thought about and planned carefully when you are traveling. So, first thing is, if they can carry their own bag, choose a bag that they are familiar with, something that they always have. It's just going to give them that little bit more security. If they're a sensory seeker, you could always get the trunkies if they're younger, or you can get these. You can get them on Amazon. We've got them for if we ever get to travel. So it's a cabin bag, but it's a scooter that folds out of the back of it. And then, so that's keeping them occupied, it's keeping them entertained. And then they're getting that rush, and that helps them self-regulate if they have it, that they get when they're on a scooter. So they are great to have, and you have them in all different patterns and things like that. So caps and sunglasses are also great for diffusing the bright lights while in the airport, because they're really strong neon lights and they're everywhere, and there's especially a lot of airports then would also have really large windows and things, so there's coming from everywhere, so they can be just handy to and especially a cap with a peak on it, that it can kind of just help block out any kind of loads of people walking around and things like that, and keep them occupied. Ear defenders, if required, for excessive noise. Airports, the acoustic in airports are fantastic, which makes everything really loud, really noisy, and very high octaves than what they normally would. Now, we don't get the big ear defenders. What we get is the auditory regulators that we get from EFA over Occupational Therapy ABC. That is our handle there. Go check her out. They're really small. They're smaller than the iPhone bud things that you can get. They're little black, they sit in your ear, they have a little button on it. You can either switch off all background noise, or you can have it that it's set just to block out noise altogether. So just the background noise blocked or altogether. And they're fantastic. Callum uses them in school. They're brilliant. They're really discreet as well. Especially if you have an older child that might be a bit more kind of self-conscious of big ear defenders. Download their favorite shows and games onto their iPad. Work up the time, work out your flight time as well as time in the airport. So if you have a 2-hour check-in, and then a 2.5-hour or 4-hour flight, kind of ensure that you have plenty, and obviously something that has a good battery life, and buy a good power bank. Good power bank, you can buy them really cheaply, 4 or 5 quid, but you can get a really, really good one for about 20-25 euro. And you'll usually get 3 or 4 full charges from the Pebbles and that. So they are really good. A lot of airlines now are introducing Wi-Fi on board. Some of them can be a bit expensive, especially if it's just an hour, but it is something that you can look into, and it could be always a backup should you need it. Their favorite toys, just take some toys with you. Anything that makes them feel confident and familiarity to them, easy for me to say. Fidget toys are always good as well, especially if they're getting a bit angsty, if they're after being on board for a while, and they're done. I've had enough of this now, let me off. Sensory toys and things like that can be good to keep them occupied, keep their fingers and their minds happy. Don't forget the occupying toys such as colouring books and Play-Doh, Theraputty, Lego is always great as well. Crayola do these colouring books. You get a few markers with them, and they actually don't mark anywhere. So if your child is like my 2 girls that do like to draw on walls and tables and everything but the paper, these are great, because you put the marker anywhere, it's nothing. it just, whatever way it does it, the page changes colour when the marker hits the paper. They're fantastic. They can be expensive. They're about €7 or €8 and you get about 20 sheets in it, but they'll keep you going. Play-Doh is always a good one. Therapushy, of course, as well. And Lego. You can bring a couple of bits of Lego if your child is into Lego. You can either buy the individual making kits, which are usually about a tenner. I know you can get them at Home Savers and Smiths and things like that. And where they have to sit and make, or you can just bring like a load of bits. If you get a little tin or even like a lunchbox, and if you get one of the baseboards and you can hot glue the baseboard into or on the lid of the box, and then they have somewhere that they can build and then keep their Lego bits inside the box when they're done. That's a great idea that I've seen before. And most importantly, snacks, snacks, and more snacks. Always good to keep them occupied, and especially if your child has food aversions and is a fussy eater, make sure you bring 3 times more than you think you might need, because it's better to have it and not use it than not have it at all. There is no limitations on bringing food through the airport. The only limitations is liquids. Maximum is 100 ml per bottle. However, if you have specialist milk or your child will only drink a certain drink or things like that, you can get a letter from your doctor to state that, and then you can take that through. Just as I say that now as well, if your child is on specialist food or you are allowed to take those through, you can request from some airlines, they will allow you extra baggage to take that specialist food through. I will do up another presentation which will cover traveling through with kind of mobility issues, wheelchairs, if you're peg fed and things like that, because that's a whole other scenario. But you can bring extra specialist food through if you need to. You just get a letter from your doctor, and then that'll get you through security, no problem. Another tip is to bring, I know Robinsons do them. I'm not sure if My Waddy or any of the rest of them do them, but it's the little tiny little mini concentrate pocket packs or whatever they're called. So you can pick up water when you go through airside, or you can obviously get it on board as well. And then you can just dilute it down to their favourite squash. Which is always handy, and they're only minimal. Obviously, I would also recommend my book, My Travel and Activity Journal. It is available on Amazon. You can get it worldwide on Amazon, so it doesn't matter whether you're in Australia, the UK, the States, or Ireland, you can get it anywhere. I checked on Amazon Germany there today, and if I had ordered it today, I would have had it by Friday. I know somebody in the UK that they ordered it on Friday evening last week, and they had it by Sunday afternoon. So it's quite quick over there. It's just obviously through when you're ordering it to Ireland, unfortunately. I didn't look up France, and I don't know how long that takes. If you are on the French Amazon, I just looked up Germany. Now I do have a number of copies here, which I have a limited number of copies left, which I can post out to you directly. So you could have next day delivery, or if you're in Dublin or even North Kildare, I can meet you somewhere and you could even have it same day if you needed it. Then the next thing I would say is, and probably the most important thing, is when you're booking a holiday and when you go on holiday as a family, is to relax and have fun. Being a special needs parent is so much more stressful and physically and mentally exhausting than anybody could ever imagine until you're in that situation. You have to be so many things and then some, and even for your child, for them to break away and relax, and just the break of the monotony, and the whole family as a unit. the whole family does deserve that break and deserves that time together just to be and just to remember what they are without anything else. So I will always say, if anyone has any questions, please contact me. We can look at what's suitable, what's not suitable, what would suit you. We can get you booked up with something if you need to. I am a registered travel agent still, so I can book product for you if you need to. There is no problem, or I can just give you any advice that you want. But I hope you've had some plenty of tips out of that. And if anybody wants the slides, just give me a shout and I can send them over, or you can save the post as well. Have a good night.